What if the universe you live in isn't what it seems? What if every moment, every breath, every heartbeat is part of an ancient design, a pattern hidden in plain sight, known only to a chosen few? For centuries, secret orders and enlightened minds have whispered of a path, one paved not by faith or fate, but by knowledge. Not just any knowledge, but ancient wisdom so profound it was nearly erased from history. Buried in forgotten temples and encoded in cryptic texts, these truths challenge everything we've been taught. This isn't mythology. It's a key to understanding the deeper laws that govern reality. Hermeticism, attributed to the mysterious sage Hermes Trismegistus, has guided scholars, alchemists, and philosophers for millennia, quietly shaping revolutions of thought and spirit. Its principles don't demand blind belief. They invite inner discovery. Once you begin to see the invisible threads tying together mind, matter, and motion, you'll realize how much of your power has been hidden from you. Why do some people seem to manifest with ease while others struggle for every step? Why do patterns repeat in life, in nature, and even in your own thoughts? The answers lie in principles few are ever taught, and even fewer truly understand. But you are here. And that means you're ready to look beyond the veil and uncover the Hermetic secrets they don't want you to know. There exists a body of knowledge whispered through the centuries, concealed beneath layers of time, mystery, and sacred geometry. This wisdom is not found in ordinary books, nor taught in traditional schools. It belongs to a lineage of thinkers, seekers, and mystics who looked beyond the visible world and grasped the deeper laws of reality. At its heart lies Hermeticism, a philosophical tradition as old as the pyramids, yet as relevant as tomorrow's sunrise. Rooted in the enigmatic figure of Hermes Trismegistus, this path promises not mere knowledge, but transformation. Imagine a bridge between heaven and earth, between thought and form, spirit and matter. That bridge is what Hermeticism offers to those willing to walk it with reverence and curiosity. Its teachings were said to be passed down from Hermes Trismegistus himself, a fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian Thoth, representing divine communication and intellectual mastery. These aren't just mythic tales. They're symbols, portals to understand the architecture of the universe itself. In them, ancient wisdom is encoded for those who can see with more than just their eyes. You'll find echoes of this tradition in the practices of alchemists, philosophers, and esoteric scholars across the ages. From the secretive halls of Alexandria to the Renaissance minds who shaped the modern world, Hermeticism has been a quiet flame, lighting the way for those seeking more. But what makes this path so enduring is not just its history, it's the principles it carries, universal and timeless, waiting to be rediscovered. And so, we begin with the first of many teachings, a truth that reality begins not with matter, but with the mind. To understand the fabric of the cosmos through Hermeticism, one must first become acquainted with three foundational principles. These are not abstract philosophies tucked away in dusty scrolls, but dynamic forces that shape everything from stardust to human thought. Think of them as keys, the kind that unlock the hidden architecture of the universe. The first key, all is mind. The second, what happens above, echoes below. The third, nothing rests, everything vibrates. Together, they offer a compass to navigate both the outer world and the inner self. These principles are not random musings, but distilled truths passed down since the days of Hermes Trismegistus. When ancient sages looked upon the stars and observed their own emotions, they found parallels, a mirror effect between macrocosm and microcosm. The principle of correspondence, for instance, helps us see why our inner balance affects our outer experiences. Meanwhile, the principle of vibration explains why emotions, thoughts, even illness, are all tied to subtle frequencies. Much like tuning a stringed instrument, our lives depend on harmony. And at the center of it all lies the principle of mentalism, the idea that reality itself begins in the realm of thought. Before a seed grows, it is imagined. Before a temple rises, it is designed. This principle is the root from which all others blossom. When fully grasped, it has the power to shift our perception of reality entirely. But to truly understand it, we must slow down and explore what it means to say, the universe is mind. Everything you see, everything you hear, and even the thoughts you think, all of it begins in the realm of mind. This is the principle of mentalism, the first and most essential pillar in the teachings of Hermeticism. It tells us that the universe itself is mental in nature, that existence is, in truth, a grand thought held within the infinite mind of the all. Just as a dream feels real to the dreamer, so too is this waking world shaped by the invisible currents of thought and intention. Hermes Trismegistus spoke of this mental plane as the true origin of all form. It's not a poetic idea, but a lens through which we begin to see our lives with sharper clarity. Consider how a single thought can build an empire or start a war, how your mood can color your perception of the very same day. If everything arises from mind, then every action, every creation, and every moment is born from consciousness. This ancient wisdom invites us to become more than mere passengers, to become the sculptors of our own fate. To live with the awareness that the universe is mental is to understand that your beliefs shape your reality. If you believe the world is full of fear, you will find fear. But if you hold peace in your mind, even chaos begins to soften. This is not naivety. It is the recognition that thought precedes matter, and mind precedes manifestation. And if such a connection exists between thought and reality, what does that say about the world above and the world below? As above, so below, as within, so without. This timeless axiom lies at the heart of the principle of correspondence. It reveals a grand symmetry woven through the fabric of existence, a truth echoed in sacred architecture, celestial patterns, and even the human soul. What happens in the heavens reflects what happens on earth, and the tiniest ripple in the inner world can send waves through the outer. This is not metaphor, but a sacred law recognized by seekers of ancient wisdom for millennia. When Hermes Trismegistus whispered these words, he offered more than a poetic phrase, he unveiled a cosmic blueprint. You might notice the same patterns in a spiral galaxy and the Nautilus shell, or the branching of trees and the veins in your hand. These are not coincidences. They are clues. In Hermeticism, they speak to the interconnectedness of all things, where no part exists in isolation. Everything is linked, from the stars in the sky to the silent thoughts in your heart. This principle empowers us to explore ourselves as reflections of the cosmos. If turmoil surrounds you, it may be pointing to something unsettled within. If clarity fills your mind, your life may begin to flow with ease. Like the tides responding to the moon, we respond to forces seen and unseen. And once we learn to read these echoes, we begin to grasp another secret, that even the invisible is always in motion. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. This principle, so simple in its phrasing, reveals one of the most profound insights in Hermeticism. It tells us that all things, from towering mountains to fleeting thoughts, are in constant motion. Atoms dance, emotions ripple, and even the quietest silence hums with hidden energy. The world is not still, but alive with rhythm, frequency, and resonance. Hermes Trismegistus taught that all beings vibrate at their own unique rate, and that these frequencies shape how we interact with the world. Joy, sorrow, anger, peace, each emits its own subtle pulse, drawing like frequencies to it. This is why you may feel uplifted around certain people and drained by others. The ancient wisdom here is both mystical and scientific, reminding us that energy is never static. It flows, shifts, and transforms, just like a river. To master this principle is to understand influence. You can raise your own vibration through intention, sound, breath, or even by shifting your focus to beauty and truth. Monks chanting in the Himalayas, the resonance of crystal bowls, even the beat of your favorite song, all of these work because of this universal law. And when we begin to tune into these vibrations, we find something else whispering between the frequencies, a hidden message locked within ancient texts. The heart of Hermeticism beats strongest through its sacred writings, timeless texts that have survived empires, inquisitions, and the erosion of centuries. Chief among them is the Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of dialogues and teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. These works explore the nature of divinity, the soul, and the universe with a depth that continues to mystify and enlighten. They are not books in the modern sense, but keys to a hidden doorway that opens only for the inward seeker. Then there is the Emerald Tablet, perhaps the most cryptic and potent relic of Hermetic thought. In just a handful of lines, it captures the essence of the entire tradition. That which is below corresponds to that which is above. These phrases, engraved in metaphor and layered meaning, have inspired generations of alchemists and mystics to search for the philosopher's stone, not merely as a physical substance, but as a symbol of inner transmutation. Ancient wisdom, encoded in simplicity, yet vast in implication. Many of these texts found renewed life during the Renaissance, as thinkers rediscovered their truths and saw in them a link between human potential and divine order. Today, they remain a wellspring for those seeking something deeper than modern materialism, a bridge between the sacred and the scientific, the mystical and the practical. And within those pages lies not only knowledge, but the silent influence that shaped entire movements of thought. Hermeticism, though often hidden in plain sight, has shaped the intellectual and spiritual current of human history in profound ways. From the temples of ancient Egypt to the scroll-filled libraries of Alexandria, its principles traveled silently through the veins of civilizations. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars translated Hermetic texts alongside the works of Plato and Aristotle, recognizing their insights as essential pieces of ancient wisdom. And as Europe awoke from the Dark Ages, these teachings would ignite the minds of Renaissance philosophers and visionaries. Figures like Marsilio Ficino and Giordano Bruno saw in Hermeticism a sacred science, one that connected soul, cosmos, and creation. They read Hermes Trismegistus not as a myth, but as a master of divine knowledge. Through their efforts, Hermetic thought mingled with astrology, alchemy, and early scientific experimentation, laying the groundwork for disciplines we now take for granted. Even Isaac Newton, a father of modern physics, studied alchemy and drew from these ancient ideas, seeing no division between science and spirit. Though veiled and persecuted at times, Hermeticism endured, flowing through secret societies, Rosicrucian orders, and occult revival movements of the 19th century. It provided a spiritual framework during periods of upheaval, a reminder that knowledge was not solely the domain of priests or kings, but of any seeker brave enough to look inward. And as time moved forward, so too did the understanding of these principles, expanding toward newer forms of expression. In the dance of existence, everything has its opposite, and everything flows in cycles. These are the Hermetic principles of polarity and rhythm, two pillars that teach us to embrace contrast and change as natural aspects of life. Love and hate, light and dark, truth and illusion. Each is not a separate entity, but part of a single spectrum. Through the lens of ancient wisdom, we learn that these opposites are merely two expressions of the same thing, seen from differing degrees. Hermes Trismegistus taught that understanding polarity allows us to shift our experiences. If you feel overwhelmed by fear, you can transmute it by moving along the scale toward courage. Just as a musician can slide from one note to another, so too can we slide between emotional or mental states through awareness and effort. Polarity is not conflict, it is potential for movement, a pathway to balance. And when rhythm is added to the equation, we begin to see how these shifts follow predictable patterns. The principle of rhythm reveals that all things rise and fall, tides, emotions, even success and failure. Recognizing this rhythm means we are less likely to be thrown off course. When things decline, we know they will rise again. And when we soar, we remain humble, understanding the cycle. This harmony between opposites, this sacred rhythm, teaches us resilience and opens the way to bringing these teachings into modern life. In a world that often feels chaotic and disconnected, the teachings of Hermeticism offer a steady light, one that speaks not only to the past, but to the challenges of modern life. These principles are not relics to be admired from afar. They are tools meant to be used daily. When you apply the principle of mentalism, for example, you begin to shape your life through intention. Like an artist with a canvas, you realize your thoughts direct the brush. What you focus on, you feed. What you believe, you begin to become. The principle of correspondence can transform your self-awareness. Noticing disharmony in your environment. Look within. Seeking peace in your home. Cultivate stillness in your heart. The Hermetic view invites personal responsibility, not blame, but empowerment. Even the idea of vibration plays a role in our emotional and physical health. Through meditation, music, and mindful speech, we can shift our state and realign with higher frequencies. The knowledge once kept in temples now fits in your breath, your choices, your day-to-day living. Many who walk the spiritual path today, without even realizing it, echo the footsteps of Hermes Trismegistus. Whether through manifestation practices, energy healing, or the pursuit of universal truths, the ancient wisdom lives on. And as it weaves into the modern world, it reminds us that enlightenment isn't an escape, it's an integration. And so, the journey continues, not in the stars, but in you, where the real secrets are waiting to be remembered. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what if everything you've learned here today is more than theory? What if these Hermetic principles are the very fabric of your life, quietly shaping your thoughts, your choices, even your destiny? Consider, where do you see the principle of mentalism at work in your own reality? Can you recognize the rhythms, the vibrations, the correspondences whispering to you through everyday moments? How might your life shift if you began to live by these truths, not as doctrine, but as practice? Could understanding polarity help you navigate conflict? Could embracing rhythm help you weather emotional storms? Could the ancient wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus hold the key to mastering your inner world, and, by extension, the world around you? We've only just opened the door to a much greater mystery. But the next steps are yours. So what resonates most with you? Which of these Hermetic teachings feels like it's already been quietly waiting for you to notice? Share your thoughts below, and join a circle of seekers reclaiming the wisdom that was never truly lost. Please like and subscribe, and activate the notifications, so you don't miss the next step in this ongoing discovery. Thank you for watching.